My name is Swann Hernandez. I'm the founder and president of Veterans for Peace, John Castro, Chapter 19, Inland Empire, California. I live in Rancho Mirage, California. I'm joined today by my husband, Guillermo Hernandez. We'd like to talk to you today about immigration reform. This is a subject that's very dear to my heart. I'm very close to this subject, and I do have some expertise. My husband has been in immigration custody twice, and in 2016, he was in immigration custody in Imperial County, and we wanted to get married, and we asked permission of Immigration Customs Enforcement to have a marriage, and lo and behold, it was the first same-sex marriage in immigration and detention history. It was an international news story. It was on the front page of the Sun twice. It was in USA Today. It was published in The Guardian in the United Kingdom. So we're very happy about that. And then because Guillermo was in immigration custody, California State Assembly member Rob Bonta introduced the Truth Act in Sacramento, in the state legislature, to try to reform immigration laws. And he mentioned Guillermo's plight of being in immigration custody in his news conference to introduce that legislation, which passed the legislature and the governor signed into law. That was in 2016. And with the help of Chuck Parker, Veterans for Peace presented an award to Assembly member Rob Bonta. And I testified before a state Senate committee on immigration reform. So I have a little bit of expertise in this field. The ACLU also circulated a petition to help raise money for Guillermo's bail. So we're very grateful for their support. Now, why are we doing this video today? Today is January 6th, which is the 12th day of Christmas, and the Catholic Church and other denominations, they refer to January 6th as the Epiphany, which is the day that the Magi, the three wise men from the east, came to Bethlehem bearing gifts to baby Jesus. And the word Epiphany means manifestation, or to present. And what the Epiphany means in the Christian tradition is that the wise men were not Jews. They were what they called Gentiles. They were foreigners. They were one was from Saudi Arabia, the other one was from Persia, which is now Iran, the other one was from India. And they came to Bethlehem. They followed a star, and they came to Bethlehem, and they presented gifts to baby Jesus, and because they were non-Jews and were recognizing Jesus as the King of the Jews, it's the manifestation or the presentation of Jesus to the non-Jewish world. And the legend of the three wise men kind of is traced back to an Iranian legend, which talks about Magi and a star and presenting gifts to a ruler. And so that's where that came from. And the star that they followed thousands of miles, and for months they followed the star. And we believe that astrologers have said that the star was probably a three-planet conjunction that occurred in the year 6 BC, which is the year that Jesus was born. And the Magi is kind of taken from the word magic, but it doesn't mean sorcerer. They didn't cast spells on anybody. They didn't do anything bad. But they believed in astrology very strongly. They believed they believed the universe was like a television, and you could see how the world was taking place by looking at the stars, and they could look at the stars and predict the future and see events happening. So they practiced astrology in their religion, and the Chinese also have a legend that one of the wise men may have come from China, but most scholars, the Old Testament books of Psalms and Isaiah predict the wise men coming and presenting gifts and following a star. It's all in the Old Testament. Isaiah predicts it, and the book of Psalms predicts it, and they say they came from Saudi Arabia, Iran, which was Persia back then, and India. So let me go further with my next question. And the wise men, we want to point out, did not have, when they left India and they left Saudi Arabia and Persia, which is now Iran, they came to Judea, which at that time was occupied by the Romans, and they didn't have a tourist visa, and they didn't. The border patrol didn't stop them at the border. They rode camels. The book of Isaiah and Psalm says they were predicted they would be riding camels, and they rode camels, and they didn't have a tourist visa, and they weren't stopped by the border patrol. And when they got to Bethlehem, ICE didn't question them or harass them or take them into custody or anything like that, and that's very interesting. And the Virgin Mary and Joseph, they didn't report the wise men to authorities and say, well, they came here from the east without documents. They're illegal aliens. The Bible never refers to these people as illegal aliens. And Mary and Joseph welcomed them. They believed the story that the wise men said, that they followed a star until the star rested over the manger where Jesus lay in hay and a feeding trough. The manger is a feeding trough. He lay in swaddling clothes and hay. And Mary gave them some of the swaddling clothes as a gift. She couldn't. They were very poor, Joseph and Mary. They couldn't afford to give gifts to the wise men, so she gave them some of the swaddling clothes of Jesus, and she gave them a stone in a little box, and she told them, your faith should be as hard as a rock, and that's what she gave them. So she welcomed them. We can all follow Mary's and Joseph's example of how to treat strangers. Now, why I call these immigrants undocumented workers, and I want to clarify this because you hear conservatives call them illegal aliens because they cross the border without legal documents to come to the United States. We know it takes about 10 years for somebody in Latin America to get a tourist visa to come to the United States. And many of these people cannot wait that long. They can't wait 10 years. They want to have a better life. And so they have a dream, a vision. They follow a star, their own star they follow to come to the United States. And it takes so long to get here. And remember when when we had immigration at years before, back in, for most of our country's history, we welcomed immigrants to the United States. The Statue of Liberty is a beacon to welcome people from around the world to come to the United States for freedom. And the Caucasian immigrants from Europe came to New York Harbor, Ellis Island, and they were processed immediately. They immediately got papers to work in the United States. There's no Ellis Island on our southern border for Latin Americans to cross through and get papers immediately. So they crossed illegally or without documentation. And remember, immigration law is civil law, not criminal law. So coming across the country without papers is really not a crime. So I refer to them as undocumented workers, not illegal aliens. Joseph, after the wise men came to visit baby Jesus and present gifts, a few days later, God spoke to Joseph in a dream. Joseph was Jesus' father, Mary's husband, and God spoke to Joseph in a dream and told him that King Herod, the Jewish king, the ruler of Judea, wanted to kill baby Jesus because he saw Jesus as a threat to his reign, because Jesus was called the King of the Jews. And so Herod was afraid that Jesus was going to be somebody to compete against him, a challenge to his reign on the throne. So God told Joseph to take Mary and baby Jesus to Egypt and flee there until King Herod passed away. And they did that. Joseph immediately left, went to Egypt. They didn't have time to get a tourist visa. They just crossed the border, went into Egypt, and lived there for about maybe 10 or 12 years until King Herod passed away. Then they returned to Judea. And we don't call the Holy Family illegal aliens for crossing into Egypt. And many undocumented workers have a dream or vision of a better life in the United States. And who are we to challenge if their dream is not inspired by a higher power, just like Joseph's dream was inspired by a higher power? What else does the Bible say about how we should treat immigrants? Well, this part I'd like to actually read because I want to quote Scripture and not miss any words here. But basically, the Bible says that if you should help strangers, foreigners, and it's a sin to hurt them. So here's the first Bible verse. Strangers, aliens, foreigners crossing the border are not referred to in the Bible as illegal aliens. They're just, they're just the Bible uses the word stranger, foreigner, and alien. They're not called illegal aliens in the Bible. The Apostle Paul remarks that some strangers, some undocumented workers, may be angels in disguise who are just coming to see how we treat them, to see if we show compassion to them. Here's the first verse. You shall not molest or oppress an alien, for you were once aliens in the land of Egypt. I mean, the Jewish people were aliens in the land of Egypt, and that's from Exodus chapter 22. And if a stranger sojourn with thee in your land, ye shall not vex or distress him. But the stranger that dwelleth with you shall be unto you as one born among you, and you shall love him as you love thyself, for you were once aliens in the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. That's Leviticus 19:33 and 34. Then Leviticus 9 through 10 has basically the same message, and it says, when you reap the harvest of your land, do not reap to the very edge of your field, or gather the gleaning of your harvest. Leave them for the poor and for the foreigner residing among you. I am the Lord your God. And that's in Leviticus in two different places, chapter 23 and chapter 19. The Lord protects the stranger. That's Psalms 146. This from the book of Isaiah. The foreigner who joins themselves to the Lord, him ministering to him, they will bring to my holy. I will bring them to my holy mountain and make joy in my house of prayer. That's from Isaiah 56. And then in the New Testament, Jesus tells a parable where he says, if you welcome a stranger, then you go to heaven. That's Matthew 25. And don't forget to show hospitality to strangers, because doing so, some have entertained angels without knowing it, and that's Hebrews. That's Paul, the Apostle Paul in Hebrews 13. Beloved, you do faithful with whatever you do for the brethren and for foreigners. That's 3 John. The Apostle John wrote that. 3 John, first chapter. Sacred Space webpage, which is a Roman Catholic webpage. I should point out that the Roman Catholic Church has been helpful to strangers and foreigners and aliens and immigrants all over the world for the whole length of the time the church has been in existence. This is from Sacred Space webpage. Lord, you have called me the light of the world. Let me be always considerate of those you want me to serve, the hungry and the homeless, the sick and the destitute, the stranger and the refugee. Then there's also the Catholic social teachings, which says that the moral test is how we treat the most vulnerable members of our society. And there's a lot of division in this world now between rich and poor. It seems like the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. And we should put the poor and vulnerable first. And Jesus, in the Psalm, in Matthew 25, in the parable, Jesus says that if whatever you do to the least of my people, you do unto me. So Jesus says, if you don't welcome strangers, you didn't welcome him. And if you don't welcome strangers, the parable goes on to say, in conclusion, if you don't welcome strangers, you didn't welcome me, you go to hell. And if you welcome strangers, you welcome me, and I love you, and you go to heaven. And that's what the parable in the book of Matthew chapter 25 says. The Pope responded to President Trump's putting immigrant children in cages and separating them from their parents, by last year he created a new devotion to the Virgin Mary called Our Lady Comfort of Migrants. And that's the new devotion to the Virgin Mary. When President Trump put the children in cages and separated them from their parents, I'm a Marine Corps veteran. It reminded me of the way we treated German prisoners of war in World War II. And I'll say this, we treated our German POWs better more humane than Trump treated these children, who their only crime was they wanted to come to the United States and have a better life. So it's real tragic. Trump, some people in the Trump administration actually are racist, and they believe that white Caucasians are the master race, because at detention centers where immigrants are being held, doctors went to Latino women and forced them to have hysterectomies, even though they didn't want it, because they didn't want these women to procreate. So they're actually trying to stop Latino women from procreating in detention centers. And think how cruel and how really how bad that is, how immoral that is, to force a woman to have a hysterectomy that doesn't want one. What do we need President-elect Joe Biden to do in the first 100 days that he's in office? Well, first of all, thank God he got elected. It's going to be a big improvement for immigration. The first thing we'd like him to do is reunite these families. There's still a couple of hundred families of children separated from their parents, immigrants, living in Latin America. We need to reunite the children with their parents. That's the first thing. We should never take them apart. I'd like to have President-elect Biden sign an executive order to reinstate the Deferred Action Childhood Arrivals DACA program for the Dreamers. I'd like President-elect Biden to decrease the amount of time it takes for somebody in Latin America to get a visa to come to the United States. I'd like him to renew the immigration enforcement priorities that were started by President Barack Obama, and they were discarded by the Trump administration. I would not, if you're an immigrant and you're a citizen of the United States, you still have to register for selective service for the draft. You still have to register. Guillermo registered for the selective service, and so I think if you serve in the military and you're a veteran, you should not be deported. I think there should be a moratorium on removal of immigrants and deportations until Congress can pass sweeping immigration reform. I think there should be, our detention centers are like prisons where we keep the immigrants, and they're all privately operated by not-for-profit corporations. And of course, the more prisoners they have in the detention center, the more money the corporation makes. And I think they should stop the privatization of detention centers. And I think that the Dreamers DACA Deferred Action Childhood Arrivals should be eligible for the Affordable Care Act or Obamacare. They can't get that health insurance right now. And I think they should be eligible for Medicaid. Right now, an immigrant can get emergency health care through Medicaid. I think you should get full Medicaid. And I think immigrants should be able to get a federal student loan. Like my husband would like to go to college now, but he can't get a student loan. And I think new Senator Alex Padilla of California, the new U.S. Senator, put in by Governor Gavin Newsom, is going to be very good to help us with immigration reform. Now, at this time, I'd like to turn to my husband, Guillermo, and give him I've spoken too much already, and give him a chance to talk, and I'll just ask him, when did you come to the United States, and how did you get here?
In 2003, when I was 9, I was driven here by using someone else's identification, a coyote, call them.
And so you came at a very young age to
Yeah, when I was 9.
And you went to Palm Springs High School. You played the clarinet in the band. And when did you graduate?
2013.
So you went all through school here in the Coachella Valley,
Yes.
Palm Springs. And how did you feel about President Trump putting immigrant children in cages and separating them from their parents?
Well, I experienced it. It was very inhumane, being separated from your family, not knowing if you were gonna ever see them again. So it was
Yeah.
very inhumane to do.
Yeah. When you, when's our next immigration case?
It's gonna be January 2022.
Okay, so we're about a year from now. If you got deported to Mexico, you left there when you were 9 years old. Would you have a job? Would you have any money? Would you have a home? What would you have in Mexico for you?
No, nothing. I don't. I have my whole family lives here, and my whole support is here. So I wouldn't have a job, or money or a home.
And you speak Spanish, but you're not familiar with Mexico. You left at such a young age.
Yeah.
So that'd be very difficult for you. Be very traumatic. And when you were in custody the first time in 2016, did the judge offer you bail?
No, he denied me bail.
He denied you bail. Did the ACLU tell me that that was a violation of the Supreme Court ruling?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was a violation because he shouldn't offer me bail because I had no criminal record. I mean, I had no what was it? Like
drug charges.
Drug charges.
No drug charges. Yeah, the Supreme Court ruled if you don't have a drug charge, you have to be offered bail. Did your attorney file an appeal, and what happened?
I was granted bail and I was released.
So Laura Polstein filed an appeal, and it was immediately granted, and he got offered bail to the lowest amount, $1,500. Are immigrants now when you were released on bail, were there other immigrants that were stayed there in that detention center, that prison, that couldn't get bail and?
There was people that had been there for years, like 2 years, 3 years, going on 4 years, that hadn't been. They came here from the border from Mexico trying to get in, and they're still waiting for their case to be called up. But some people had years of waiting just to even get.
And they haven't been offered bail.
They haven't been offered.
Even though the Supreme Court ruled they should be offered bail.
Right.
And so the thing is, you were in custody in 2016, and now your final court hearing for your case to see if you're going to be deported is not until 2022. So if we had not filed that appeal and bailed Guillermo out, he would have spent 6 years in that immigration detention facility from 2016 to 2022. And that's a long time. And what happens is these prisoners get tired of being in prison, so they just give up and say, I'm not going to fight the case, and they say, I'm willing to go back to Mexico, and they go. They leave the country. They go back to Mexico because they can't. They don't want to stay in prison that long.
I had a lot of friends that did.
Yeah, it's tragic. It's tragic what's happening. And do you think you will be treated in Mexico? You're a openly gay person. Do you think you'll be treated in Mexico like you are here in Palm Springs?
I believe I'll be treated different. Yes. I believe I will be more. What's the word? Discriminated against. Yeah.
Yeah. Outside of Mexico City, gays are still not very open in Mexico, and there's a lot of discrimination. And Guillermo, because we made international news, he's considered a hero in the LGBTQ community, and so he would be somebody in Mexico that might want to stop gay civil rights, might harm Guillermo. So we worry about that. What is a U visa, and how long have you been waiting to get one?
U visa is when you ask for
That's when you're a victim of a crime.
Yes. A victim of a crime, and I've been waiting for it for 4 years. It's been 4 years since I applied for my first U visa, and I still haven't received an answer.
Yeah, the U visa is the federal government in the United States believes that if you're an immigrant and you're a victim of a crime, and you come out of the shadows and report it to law enforcement and cooperate with law enforcement, you can get a U visa for no charge. They waive the fee. It's normally like $600. They waive the fee. It's free, and you get a green card. And the government's been waiting 4 years, and it's my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, Representative Raul Ruiz, a member of Congress, Citizen member Eduardo Garcia, and County Supervisor Manuel Perez all wrote letters to the judge saying that they should approve your U visa.
That's correct.
Yeah. And then my VA doctor sent a letter saying you're my caregiver because I'm legally blind, and you help me. I think if I didn't have you, I'd probably die because you do a lot for me. What are some of the things you do for me?
I help you cook, I clean. I help you go to the grocery store. I help you go to the bank. I help you with your you have to use the restroom and stuff.
Yeah, give me my medicine because I'm
And-
legally blind.
And I help him with his medication. Yes.
And until recently, I had a bad hip. I just had hip replacement surgery, but for about 2 years, I couldn't hardly walk. Keep going here. Were you able to get a work permit at no charge?
Yes, I was able to get a work permit. The first time or the second time?
You've had 2 work permits, and both
Right.
times it was free because he has a U visa petition. So he's got a work permit. He is legal for him to be in the United States. Do you pay income taxes and pay the Social Security?
Yes. Every time I shop, I'm paying income taxes.
So you pay income taxes, state taxes, and then you also pay the Social Security. You have a Social Security card, and you when you go to he goes to a store, like when you buy gas, you pay the tax on the gas, right?
Yes, correct.
So you're paying taxes. You're helping support our economy, and when you're taken into custody, though, you have a Mexican ID card, and a work permit, and a Social Security card. What does ICE do when they arrest you?
They take everything away. They revoke everything.
They even take away your Mexican ID card.
Yeah,
right.
When I got released the second time, they released me with nothing. I had to start all over.
And that he has to go to the. If he didn't, they take his Mexican ID card, which I don't understand why U.S. immigration would take that away from someone if he's a citizen of Mexico. So you have to start over again with new cards. Are you eligible? You're eligible for food stamps, I believe, right?
Yeah, but if I was to live alone, I'd be able to.
Yeah, our family income is too high for food stamps, but if you lived alone, you'd be eligible.
Yeah.
And you're eligible for Medi-Cal, but you're not eligible for Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, are you?
No.
Okay, yeah, that's something we'd like to change. And you can't get Medicaid unless it's an emergency. So that's a shame. So he just broke his right leg, and we couldn't access Medicaid. And the other thing that you're very interested in, you'd like to go to college, wouldn't you?
Yes, that's my dream.
We went to Mayfield College, and we asked them if you could apply for a student loan, and what did they say?
They said that they had no. I couldn't get any student loan or anything.
Yeah, immigrants can't get student loans, federal student aid.
So it would take me 6 years just to save up just to go to college.
Now, when you worked at where
Jack
in the Box, and you received what, minimum wage?
Mm-hmm.
And did you have a full-time job?
Yes.
You worked. I think you worked like 36 hours a week, right?
Correct.
Which is not quite full time. Most immigrants work. A lot of them work for less than minimum wage, and they're essential workers on our front lines, and they do a lot of jobs that other people don't want to do. And for example, the United Farm Workers work for less than minimum wage, and that's why our food prices are low. Yet they're often taken for granted. And did you get a stimulus check?
No.
Immigrants can't get a stimulus check, even though they're paying taxes and paying Social Security and all that. So, in conclusion, conservatives, what I want to try to say today is that conservatives believe that America is a Christian nation and that we're based on biblical principles. But their immigration views about immigrants is not based on the Bible. They're very mean, they're very cruel, they're not following these Bible verses. And they don't live by the golden rule that you should do unto others as you have them do unto you. And that's a real troubling for me. And we, like I say, we feel that that immigrants should be treated with respect, and that the Epiphany, the 3 wise men coming to the Judea to present gifts to baby Jesus, was an example of immigrants coming to another country and being respected and being able to present gifts and worship. And we think immigrants should be able to come to this country and worship God and follow a star, follow their dream of coming to this country. And we think that we hope that President-elect Biden will make things better for immigrants like my husband Guillermo. So I appreciate you watching, and that's why I call the Epiphany, January 6th, the Undocumented Workers Appreciation Day. Thank you.